Welcome in, welcome in. Cuckoo cookie. Tracy. Thank y'all for being here. Rest in peace, Michael Jackson. I'm looking forward to see Michael Jackson when I was like 8 years old at the football stadium in Cleveland. We were very far back where he was like the size of an ant, but I was still there rocking with him though. I still remember that. I'm blessed with a photogenic memory, so I remember a lot of stuff like it was yesterday. So I'll start talking about my journey being a smooth criminal. My journey being a criminal started when I was about 19. I went from private school, and when I'm working at I worked at UPS and Mr. Coffee before I started hustling. I worked at UPS to pay for like my prom and Mr. Coffee once I was to the summer. And then the next year, um, started kind of mixing with the bad crowd, the wrong crowd, with somebody who was that had I'm not sure if I can say this on YouTube, that had the white stuff in the hard form. Yeah, that's probably the best way I could say it. So at like age 19, I started selling in like the suburbs. I was like really risking, didn't even know the penalties I was facing either. I could have ended up doing a lot of years for the stuff that I was dropping off. But yeah, I was sneaking out at like 3 in the morning and didn't tell anybody what I was doing. But once I started having money and new clothes and was able to buy a lot of stuff, obviously people were starting to get hip to what was going on, and I didn't have a job. But I was working before that, so it took a while for people to kind of catch on. But yeah, I started sneaking out the house and selling drugs when I was 19, and nobody would ever. Yeah, I started about 19, and shoot, I did that for a long time, and I'm not proud of it. Probably over 10 years, and other stuff. I started selling other stuff, and that came into the mix. Green and the soft form of the white, and yeah, I was meeting a lot of people I would never ever have came in contact with in my life, and I started off because my friend went to college and he was doing it before I was, and he gave me a list and were white and they lived in the suburbs. So that was like, I was nervous going out there meeting. It was all white people and it was about 10 of them and it was way out in the suburbs. So I was gonna be having to risk like my freedom going and driving out in the suburbs in the middle of the night. But the devil tempts you with money sometimes, and that money was on my mind. The new tennis shoes, speakers, car, and all that. So I did it, and I started meeting people I had never met in my life, and we're selling them, drugs. Because my friend left me a list of like 10 people, so I was still sneaking out the house at like 2 and 3 in the morning and 2:40. So, and I was driving like a two-door car, so I know I was looking so like like a sore thumb, but God was on my side. I never got pulled over in the middle of the night, y'all. Well, no, I ain't gonna say never. One time it was like 12 at night, and I ran a light, but that's because I ran a light that I got pulled over. And oh, I would like to talk about that. I was so blessed. It was around the time I was 19, and I was going through a city called Euclid. And anybody that's from Cleveland know that Euclid doesn't play. They pull you over all the time after 12. So I ran a light, and I had drugs on me, y'all, and I had it in my hand. And when I ran the red light, I leaned up because I seen the police, and I leaned forward and threw it under the passenger seat. Well, I'm so lucky because they seen that, and both cops got out, and the other cop in the passenger seat got out and was shining his flashlight through my tinted windows down at the floorboard because they obviously seen me lean forward and like did a throwing motion. And I had about like 10, how can I say this? I had about 10 rocks on me, and they were a nice size. If they had seen any one of those not make it under that seat and was on the floorboard, I would have went to prison for a long time. So I was so lucky because all of them made it up under the seat. My heart probably was beating like 1,000 times a minute when that happened. And they asked me where I was going, and obviously I lied. I said I was going to see my girlfriend, and yeah, that was one of the scariest times I ever had. But that was when I was 19, when I was first starting off, and it was about 12 at night, and I ran a red light, and I was in Euclid, Ohio. So I'm gonna continue on. I continued on selling drugs until like in my early 30s. But one thing that really changed my life, obviously, y'all heard me talk about this, is uh, I was trying to get a new customer in my late 20s, and I told somebody that I sold that white as well, and they bought some green from me the first time, but then the next time they wanted some green, they came with three other people, and that's when and kidnapped me, and that's when I was about 29. So yeah, the whole theme of this is a smooth criminal, and the smooth come from me like sneaking out the house and not ever really telling a lot of people besides the hustlers that knew that what I was doing, that I was hustling, because I didn't mind keeping a job as well throughout my 20s. And yeah, so that's part of me being the smooth criminal, is me sneaking out the house and just kind of having a job, playing it like, my money was coming from that, but I was making way more money than the jobs that I had was paying me. So the people around me knew what I was doing, but I didn't really tell obviously a whole bunch of other people what I was doing. And to make a long story short, I started to change my life when the people that I was buying like a large amount of the stuff from, both of them went to prison at the same time. So I had to have a talk with myself like, Chris, you're going to have to change your life. Like, what are you going to do? And thought that I was the police. So I said, man, you got to change your life. And I went and started working at an auto parts store. I said that funny. Auto auto parts store, delivering parts. And not long after that, I started working at a pizza place as well, working two jobs, the auto parts in the daytime and then delivering pizzas at night. And after that, I left the auto parts store, was working just for the pizza place. And y'all will be proud of me because some racist stuff went down, and I got fired unjustly, and I filed a lawsuit against them, And after 3 years, I won almost 70 G's. The general manager got fired, who was being racist towards me. And yeah. So yeah, that's my little smooth criminal story and how I changed my life around. And I didn't look back after that. I never sold drugs again, y'all. After the people I was buying from went to prison and I switched and started working. I mean, y'all see me puffing on my green, but I never sold any drugs anymore after that. And uh, I'm proud because I knew I was destroying people's lives with the hard drugs that I was selling them. I used to actually pray sometimes and ask God for forgiveness as I was handing it to him because I knew I was destroying their life. But look at that. I knew I was destroying their life and I still was selling it to them. So that just show you how much the devil had a hold on me and like the the lust for money. I believe we call it the lust for money or the desire for money, you know what I mean? And to have nice things. So yeah, I'll wrap it up by saying, yeah, that's how I changed my life. It's because the people who I was buying from, they both went to prison at the same time for longer than 5 years. And I had that long talk with myself saying, well, what you gonna do, Chris? You can't just walk up on somebody and ask to buy the amount that I was getting. So I had to change my life. And, that's what I did. And I never looked back. And yeah, that was a big switch for me. Even though I kept jobs throughout selling drugs, but now it was totally time to change my whole life around. And I thank y'all for being here and listening to my story, my testimony. Obviously, there's some things that I had to leave out because of YouTube, because of violence and like cussing and vulgar stuff. But I told y'all I would share that with y'all, and maybe I'll make that like members only on, or put it on Patreon or another way where I could actually say what happened to me without having to cut out some stuff because y'all know YouTube don't play that. But yeah, that's my testimony, and I turned my life around. Oh, and I would like to add that I used to use my niceness and quietness to fool people into like, oh, yeah, if they knew what I was thinking, they would have been scared because people would really try me because I was nice. But in my head, I was thinking like some violent stuff. And I ain't proud of that, y'all. I'm just telling y'all, my life. Wow, that's crazy. How you didn't go back. Yeah. I'm I'm super blessed that I never really thought about going back to selling hard drugs again. It's good because it's hard for people that age to change. Yeah, it really is. I had I had reached my like 30. I think I was like 34 when I completely stopped. So yeah, you're right, sweetheart. It's hard when you get that age, especially if you lock yourself in and don't work as well, because then you have a work gap, and then people gonna ask you when they employ you, like, "Oh, what you been doing all this time?" And you be like, But luckily, I kept the job too, so I didn't have a huge gap in my work history. But yeah, I was like the last person that thought I would even be doing that for real, because I went from private school to sneaking out the house and selling hard white to no people I didn't even know. And I mean, at 2, 3 in the morning too. That was crazy. Mm-mm. Another like Patreon or something like that. Especially the kidnapping story. Y'all know they who definitely wasn't being polite, and words were said that I can't say on YouTube. But it's all good. I got y'all. I'll try my best to inspire people about how my life changed through the strength of our Father, because I started praying. I knew I was gone during that, y'all. I mean, when I say I knew that was it for me, I just knew that was it for me, and I just said, "Oh well, I want to start praying," and I just started praying for forgiveness for my sins, and I was like totally comfortable after that. Like whatever happened, happened after that. It took all the nervousness out of my body. Like it was very supernatural. That was the first time I had ever really experienced something uh um like uh like a feeling going through my body. It's hard to explain, you know what I mean? In a life and death situation, and you just instantly not nervous no more. That's hard to explain to somebody that never went through that. I never. Yeah, that's true. I was hanging around somebody who started selling drugs, and then they put me on, so that kind of like was part of it. But I did have my own mind. I think it came from a lot of the music and like movies I was watching too. I know a lot of people say that doesn't influence you, but take it from me, yes, it does, because I listened to a lot of rap music that was talking about selling drugs, talking about bang bangs, talking about being in a gang, and it definitely influenced me. I'm not gonna lie. And with them talking about fancy cars and rims and the girls, it definitely will influence you to do certain things. And I didn't have a strong mind like I do now, where I could let music not influence. Now I can listen to anything, and I don't let it influence me, even though I won't, because I don't want to listen to that stuff. But I know y'all picking up what I'm putting down. I don't know. My older brother did, and only one did. Let me see. Are you talking about how he changed, like from being like straight laced, like how I did when I was going to private school, and then ended up doing that? Yes, I definitely think some of the music and the movies I was watching influenced me to do some of that stuff, but also the people I was hanging with, I would see the amount of money that they were making, and that definitely influenced me too. Okay, you said no. My brother got caught up in the lifestyle and couldn't really stop, and that's very unfortunate. That's the only sibling I ever had. One brother, no sisters. I grew up in the projects and then moved to a bad neighborhood. Thanks for sharing, sweetheart. Mine too. He's still in the. Oh, okay. Okay, I got you now. Sorry to hear that. It's almost like the lifestyle on the other side of the game is almost more addictive than the person that's using. And I've heard my brother say that, and some other hustlers say that, to give people who never have hustled an inside look on the mindset of someone who's selling drugs. They're almost as addicted to that lifestyle as the person who is using it, y'all. Because you get addicted to, um, I mean, obviously the fast money, the amount of money. Some people don't work, so they have an open schedule. You get addicted to having an open schedule, And then you get addicted to people like needing you. Don't think that that can't get addicted too. You know, addictive too. Somebody needing you in all different times of the day. That was one thing I really didn't miss after I stopped is people calling me at like 4 in the morning. I didn't miss that at all. And to share something that happened to me when I was younger, speaking of 4 in the morning, one time I did get called by some people who use drugs at 4 in the morning, and they were my regulars. And I knew sometimes they would play games and not have any money, but I figured at 4 in the morning that they would have, some money, but they didn't. And obviously, I got mad. I was probably like 20 or 21 around that time. And when I went to leave, they pulled a knife out on me, and I told you, I told you, sweetheart, that I'm crazy too. So this is what I told them. I said, man, excuse my language, y'all. I said, man, I'm gonna take that knife and beat the. I ain't gonna say it on YouTube. And he seemed to look in my eyes, and he put the knife down, and and this was crazy. He said he offered his wife to me, and I won't say, I mean, y'all can figure that out, but they were so desperate to have drugs that night that he offered his wife to me, and I said, man, hell nah. And I still remember that day like it was yesterday. I can still picture him standing in front of the door with that knife in it. That's how crazy the drug game is, yo. Well, that's how crazy it was. Damn, almost 30 years ago. Wow. Simple in the building. Simple's in the Simple. You was playing some old cowboy music when you when you signed in. You almost had me about to slide my boots on about it. I know it will be in a. Oh yeah. Part two. If you run in the live, I forgot to tell you that. You probably done hit the button and seen like who in the. He no longer has the victim's truck, which was repossessed 3 weeks earlier. Pro in over 500 categories. But there is another choice. Be directing traffic.